Now I can build Stalkers, which is going to make my life so much easier.
We are one with
Do, do, do. Oh wow, this part's so hard. I'm so inexperienced with the Stalker. I hope that they teach me how to use the blink ability because I just don't know. I probably should have saved that bad joke for when they actually teach me to use the blink ability. I hope they teach me to use the... Wow, thank you. This part's actually really dangerous. For some reason on Brutal, there's just so much stuff, it's really easy to lose Stalkers here. The Mutmuts in particular are pretty deadly. Masoon22 subscribing at tier 1, thank you so much.
You require we are one. Mutalisks. Focus particle disruptors upon them.
Yeah, the Muta bounce can hit pretty hard. There we go. That wasn't bad.
We move unseen for the reckoning.
And Bass Beast. I think that's Beast. Subscribing. Thank you so much.
Dark Prelate Zeratul. I am Karax of the Kalai Cast.
I am the dank Prelate Zeratul. So we're going to go grab these guys real quick. And then there's just a bunch of money over here for some reason. And I don't know why, but it makes this mission so much easier. It's not like something you have to blink to, it's like you go behind the veil of grass. It's all very odd. And then I'm going to build a pseudo wall over here. Not a full wall, just a pretty close to full wall. That's going to make my life way easier for defending against the Lings. Then I'll just have a little hole over here that they have to go through and die. And that's going to be kind of my default defense in this entire run. So for defenses, by the way, I guess I should go into this. No Nexus Overcharge. I am allowed to use the Spear of Vadun passive abilities because you have to. There's no way to not select them. The game will automatically pick them for you. No Nexus Overcharge, though, because that attacks stuff. And then I'm not going to use Kydarian Monoliths or Photon Cannons either. So all the damage that I do to enemies has to be through the lens of the Stalker. What about things? No active abilities at all. I don't know if it's going to be possible. If I do have to, in the later stages, due to things being just too hard, have to add in stuff, then I'll add in non-combat abilities like deploy Pylon. However, these are the rules I'm going to go with at the beginning of the run to keep it as hard as possible. Like, stuff like the host, I'm just not sure is possible right now, though. Oh, am I going to use the Solarite passives? Yeah, I figure why not. I know, yeah, shield batteries are okay, because shield batteries just improve the Stalker. In the same way that, like, Repair Beam just improves the Stalker, or stuff like that. But I'm going to try not to use Spear of Vadun energy to begin with, because I would like to be able to complete the campaign without using Spear of Vadun energy.
I am here in the shadows. I am here in the shadows.
With the same rules, destroyers can do the host. I mean, destroyers are, how do I say it? They're better than Stalkers are. Stalkers just don't scale well. It's the thing about flying is the destroyer might be the worst flying unit in the game, but it's still a flying unit, and flying units are obscenely powerful in various situations in StarCraft 2 and 1. Speaking of, I think I've talked about this a long time ago, but I've been thinking of this idea in my head for a really long time. I think that capital ships should have collision, and other air units shouldn't. So that you can't stack a bunch of capital ships on top of each other, but you could have other units like Phoenixes or Mutas or something darting in, like in between the capital ships. I think that'd be really cool. You'd obviously have to buff the capital ship accordingly in order to do it. However, it would also mean that you can't just make 16 carriers or whatever, or 16 battle cruisers and have that be an army. Instead, you would need support units because they would take up such an unfathomably large amount of space that it'd be a garbage army on its own. I don't know. I think it'd be really cool because I'm a box art player, right? So when I think about StarCraft, I'm like, what would make the game kind of feel like the box art? And I think that a army that has a couple capital ships in it, but not a ton of them, would kind of be ideal for StarCraft, if that makes sense. Like, 3 carriers in an army is cool. 16 carriers in an army is a Skytoss A move. Do you know what I mean? It'd be cool if there were a couple commanding battle cruisers flying in the sky above that were supporting the infantry, as opposed to being either none or everything, you know? I might be wrong. It might just completely break the game or whatever, but I don't like the way that massive flyers are handled in StarCraft 2, where they're just stat sticks that murder things in mass. And once you have some, the correct opinion, or the correct thing to do is to build all of them. Oh, this is so much easier, guys. Look at this. I'm actually getting Stalkers. And not losing them. This is beautiful. Yeah, no Havocs. I'm not building any other unit. When I say Stalkers only, I'm trying to be as literal as possible with Stalkers only. Because I really don't like people that say that they're doing something only and then they don't do it only. Like, one of the things I get asked a lot is, hey, could you beat Heart of the Swarm with only drones? And the answer is probably not. Because every single only drone run uses Kerrigan. And at that point, you're playing Heart of the Swarm with Kerrigan only. And drones. Which is way easier. So I try to make it as hyper-literal as possible. Because otherwise I feel like I'm being disingenuous. I don't actually know if there's any value in killing this base besides the achievement. I'm going to assume that there is. Put the damage guys to the back. There's only going to be one more mission before we get the Spear of Adun. You'll never guess what the next mission is called that unlocks the Spear of Adun. Okay, summon reinforcements and then kill both zealots. So that's one of those things that if I hit a stone wall and it's like, well, the game's actually impossible at this point, then those are the type of things that I'll be like, okay, I'll think about it. But for now, no Spear of Adun energy to be used. That's kind of my rule. Oh, that's a Colossus. I always forget about that guy. Let us groove with purpose. And that is no longer a Colossus. I'm not using time stop. I'm definitely not using time stop. If I ever get to a point where I have to use time stop, I'm considering the run failed. Because time stop is so obscenely powerful. It's the best ability in StarCraft. In all the campaigns combined, there's nothing as powerful as that ability. So I'm not interested. Like, I had to use it in Deathless because, it was deathless, but this shouldn't be as hard.
This appears to be the last void pylon in the area.
From the shadows we come. State I am here in the shadows. Voice.
Yeah, so the host is going to be like the apex of this campaign, by the way, and I don't want to trivialize it. The host is a great mission that unfortunately is time stop cheesable. How many units have I lost? I'm like getting pretty close to doing this mission deathless.
Executor Solendus, I have encountered your missing Templar, but they have been corrupted.
It'd be cool if I could accidentally do a mission deathless.
Solendus.
Oh no, that guy! He just didn't blink. I kept telling him to. Well, there goes that dream. Just blink on top of stuff and kill it. Yeah, unfortunately Solendus is not a stalker, so she didn't respond. I can't kill Zeratul.
We must reach young Artanis. I only pray that we are not too late.
How do I do this part?
Whisper of oblivion, of salvation.
Am I gonna get killed? I actually have no idea how this part works. I could just run past, but I'm learning. Oh no, that's a lot of day llama.
It shall be as you say. Very wise. Cold is the void. I am not.
I've decided to make this way harder than it has to be.
We are one with the shadow.
I think I'm gonna lose.
You require my skill.
I'm not sure that I can fight these zealots anymore. There's too many of them. Oh, there's only two. Right here. Okay, we're gonna get Zeratul and we're just gonna run past everything.
I bring wisdom.
But I am gonna get the Stalkers to the end. They have to come with their buddy.
Address me.
And we're not using any Zeratul abilities besides Blink.
Prophecy guides us. Honor command. I shall find
Which, I mean, isn't much of a challenge, but whatever.
fury and rage. I bring wisdom. State thy bidding.
And then some Stalkers kill Zeratul, and we will continue. Next mission, easy peasy. I think most of us do this with Stalkers only anyway.
As long as it's
Yeah, sorry, Zeratul. But you were too OP. Can we just call it like Zeratul Hospice Care, and we were doing him a moral duty? So shield batteries are fine. Not shield batteries are not fine.
These photon cannons can defend our nexus point, Hierarch. They require
Deploy pylon
only
is
a
not fine.
pylon to function. You can warp in a pylon using the Spear of Adun. Press the Deploy Pylon button at the top of your command screen. I'm detecting unpowered warp gates.
I wonder how long he's going to spend telling me to use the Deploy Pylon ability. I bet there's a lot of voice lines to try to teach players, and the character is going to be very upset with me.
Would be ideal for this. Of course,
Oh no, shield restore off.
pylons as well. Our cannons will now fire upon enemies within range. If they become damaged, the shield battery will restore their shielding.
These defenses will indeed be vital.
Yeah, it's going to oh no, it stopped flashing. That's nice. The orbital strike one, I know flashes forever. Somebody told me that it was really annoying them when I was doing it blindfolded,
From it immediately.
because I couldn't orbital strike on that mission. It's just like impossible. I literally had the key unbound so that I didn't accidentally press it. And there's apparently not the same case in this one, which is good. So I'm going up to 21 out of 21 saturation. I know that I'm often the guy that's like, never go up to full saturation, but when you're on one base, it's okay. It's when you're on two bases or more that you need to be splitting up your workers, and it's not worth the supply, and it'll weaken your maxed out army and all that kind of stuff for very little benefit. We're not dealing with that kind of stuff today. I need to punch out some Stalkers really quickly because they are going to attack from this side fairly soon. So I was actually doing some math, and I found out that So this is just for ladder players, really, because I'm thinking about getting back into ladder, so I've been doing a bunch of things to try to up my understanding. And worker transfers, right? Or not transfers, but rather, you know when people take an expansion and then they rally their whatchamadooter? They rally the probes to that new expansion or their workers to the new expansion. I did some math and some testing to see exactly how economically efficient that is. It turns out that if you lose a single worker to like a Zergling harass or something, it actually loses you money compared to just mining off of the base. So I don't recommend it. Also, it's never worth it from a third base that's far away. It's only worth it if your third base is really close by. So just keep them in your natural until your base is done, for the most part. I just dodged a Hydra shot. Well, that was quite a fight. It's safer to do it that way, and it doesn't lose you money, basically. And I don't want you guys to be losing workers, you know? I dodged a Baneley explosion earlier? That's amazing. Like, it hit my unit, exploded, and then I blinked out of the damage? I didn't even notice. So I need to prepare for the next attack. I am a very, very wounded man. Yeah, the first fight's really hard because you're supposed to have 2 photon cannons here. And the cannons trivialize it, but no cannons today.
I am here in the shadows.
I have an idle probe. Oh, cool. Thank you. Cool, I'm saturated. Saved me some money. So I'm going to use this area as a little defensive bastion, and now we're warping in, which means my macro is going to be way worse. I'm way better at producing out of gateways than I am out of warp gates. And I know that's really bad, but I just forget. I'm really good at getting that tempo down for production, you know what I mean? The like, hit 2 things right before the Marines or the Stalkers or whatever pop out of the unit. When I have to do all these clicks, I'm really bad. I just wish that Warp Gate and Gateway were both viable, you know what I mean? For some reason, Warp Gate decreases the amount of time it takes to get a new unit, and I think it should be the opposite. If you're going to be able to warp something in anywhere, it should probably take longer as a cooldown, and then if you were to build out of a gateway, you should get the units out more quickly. I think that would be an interesting dynamic decision, and it would make my macro life easier. So I don't know. I have a lot of opinions that people would think, or people would interpret as anti-Protoss. But I just like interesting stuff, you know? I want there to be as many interesting decisions that I can make. Because I feel like that's when StarCraft is at its best, is when both players are making lots of different decisions, and those decisions are what determine the game. So I took a lot of damage there. It's not that Protoss isn't interesting. I think that all the races have a lot more... Rather, all the races are built in a way that they have a lot of default decisions that I think should not be default decisions. For example, I think that for Terran, there should be a much bigger decision on whether you use supply drop or if you use mules. Those two abilities should be comparable in my opinion, so that the Terran player can make more choices. Because it makes the players that think on their feet situationally better, and I like that. But instead, mule is just always the best use of your energy unless you gotta scan something. And that's kind of sad. I'm gonna clear out the middle. Why not make it ranged unit only? Because the other ranged units are really overpowered, and it'd be super easy. Stalkers are way worse than their contemporaries. That is true. The Dragoons are not overpowered, just the Adept is overpowered. I would never use the Dragoon because it's just worse than... I mean, it's got a lot of stats, But without Blink, I don't know. It's just a big dumb A move unit that is statistically stronger. And those are not my favorite. It's also not as impressive when you win.
Zerglings is approaching our nexus from the south.
Upgrade complete.
This is one of the few attacks in the campaign that I remember exists because I always move out onto the map, and then this Zergling attack wave always kills me. So, I've finally started learning. I sacrificed one Stalker there, by the way, to soak the mailing hits. Let's go set up an area on the side of the map. You always appreciate when the Overseer comes into your base like this. Yeah, I mean, there's no cloaked units possible on this mission. I'm not sure what the Overseer is overseeing. I guess he's just making sure that the lazy guys do their job. Jeez, it takes a lot of shots to kill an Immortal. They're always buffer than I expect. I think they have the really powerful shield too that's like 200 or something, so it's more than normal. Apparently I'm supply blocked. Is that an attack wave indicator, or is it just like I got near the objective indicator? I think it's I got near the objective indicator. Amon's not really specific about what he's talking about, which is really a pain. We are going to defend against the first of the things. Is it worms or warp prisms? I think it's warp prisms?
People have finally found true unity.
Yes, here we go.
Wait, what is this? Warp prisms approaching our nexus point.
Stalkers, eliminate
That was easy.
prisms.
Now we're going to do the next one. I'm going to do the final two in quick sequence, but take my time for the first three. Or first two. Sorry, it says out of 5 power cells, so I get a little bit confused because counting is hard. But you start with one of them done. This was horrible positioning by me. My Stalker line was so thick that I couldn't actually get my units around. Couldn't blink to the back. Stalker's over here. This one's Nidus Worms then. The Nidus Worms can kind of get out of control if you're not being safe, but splitting on both sides is okay. Then we can just go to the middle from both sides. Why aren't they... Are they broken? Oh, they just take a while. Well, those were really underwhelming. I thought they were going to be hard. I guess I ran him out of Nidus Worm units in the last, or in mission 1, huh? He hasn't managed to rebuild those yet.
Very well.
What kind of strategic decisions would I add for Zerg? I feel like creep spread should be somewhat harder than it currently is. I don't really know. Zerg is a tough one, and it's partially because I just don't understand Zerg as well. All of their mechanics are so weirdly interlaced that it can be difficult to be like, well, you just got to change this one thing, because it completely causes like catastrophic cascading failure to the race as a whole, which can be... I mean, Zerg exists on the knife's edge always, right? Oh, there's an Ultra. The stream is going to be about an hour and a half longer. Yeah, because we've been live for an hour and a half. We're back to scouts being garbage. One thing I would like is that I think that the fact that tumors can spread tumors is bad. I would prefer it if queens had to manually be laying the tumors themselves, but they were like super discounted. So they had to be on the front line laying them aggressively forever, because right now the way that it goes is once you spread your first wave of tumors, then your queens don't have to be at risk anymore, and I don't like that. Given that creep is such a powerful asset. But that comes to problems with the Terran matchup, right? So Protoss doesn't have great ways of clearing creep right now, which I think is one of the big problems with the matchup. So then you have to turtle into Skytoss, because that's the only thing that can take fights on creep, really. And in the later stages, I guess it can go around and clear the creep. So I don't know, creep is one of those things that I'm like, it's such a great idea, and it needs to be in the game, but I don't like the way that it currently functions in the matchup that I understand, but it works really well against Terran, so then you can't really change it. Because if queens had to be on the front line against Terran, Zerg would never win a game.
Almost finished, Hierarch. The Spear of Adun is nearly online. Only one cell remains.
Enough.
There we go.
The end to the cycle of infinite madness has come. Cease your struggle.
And I'm actually not just a biased balance whiner, so I try to make things work for all the races. Because I just want cool games, you know?